Good evening, everyone. We'll begin sharply at 5 p.m., so I request all participants to settle in. Please make sure your audio is muted. We encourage you to switch on your camera to make the session interactive. This session is being streamed on YouTube. Please note that only participants who attend all 6 sessions will be issued a certificate of training. Over the past 4 sessions, Mr. Sumar Malik, Mr. Mohammad Hassan Zaidi, Dr. Gaurav Gupta, and Mr. Blessin M. walked us through the foundations of the cyber threat landscape and the realities of online safety, especially for children. I hope you found those sessions useful and grounded in real situations you will face on the field. Before we begin today's session, I want to hear from you. Please take a moment and share in the chat box one or two key learnings from the last 4 sessions, what stayed with you and what changed the way you think. A warm welcome to day 5 of the CyberShield 6 Days Capacity Building and Training Workshop, an initiative of Naksh Foundation. I am Ekamshi and it's a pleasure to co-host today's session with Drishti. We'll be leading you through the program and supporting you throughout the session. CyberShield was built on a simple belief. If every volunteer learns how to teach cyber safety well, we can protect thousands of people who have never heard of phishing, fraud, grooming, or digital rights. Over the next 2 evenings, we are going to shape ourselves into trainers who speak with clarity, confidence, and purpose. Before we teach anyone else, we must understand the battlefield we are standing on, the digital threats, the psychology of scams, and the tricks criminals use to control their targets. It's my absolute honor to introduce our esteemed guest for today's session. Mr. Sakshat Dugal is an AI governance and law expert, cybercrime lawyer, and 24-time TEDx speaker, who also serves as a keynote speaker, author, and podcaster, and is recognized as an esteemed member of the Forbes Communication Council. Based in Delhi, India, with a professional background, including education at Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University, he has garnered over 15,000 followers and is credited with empowering over 1 million lives. He is the founder of the Global AI Leaders Forum and has been a guest speaker at high-profile organizations globally, such as the Indian Parliament, the United Nations Main Office, Harvard University's HPAIR, DRDO, AIMS, and NIDM, providing training to founders and professionals on subjects like AI crimes, cyber laws, and business communication. We are honored to welcome you, sir, today. And now, without any further delay, it is my absolute honor to hand over this session to you, sir.
Well, thank you so much, Ekanshi, and greetings, everyone. I hope everything is well. And before we start, can I have some introductions, please? Like in the chat box, you can just write from which year you're from, so that I'll get a brief. First year, third year, fifth year, you can just put it in the chat box because I'll be discussing the content accordingly. Yeah, first year, okay. Perfect. First year, second year. Okay, so we have a mixed batch. Okay, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Excellent. So I'll still keep it brief and easy so that everyone is able to understand. But okay, I'll give you a couple of case studies, real case studies that I've been having right now, and you will be able to tell me what are the legal remedies that the victim should have. Okay. Because today we are talking about e-evidence and AI. So what is the status of evidence and what kind of crimes are happening in the AI ecosystem when we talk about India? Okay, so coming to case study number 1, husband and wife, all right. And this started 2.5 years back when GPT was new, all right. So someone told this guy that please use GPT, like it has been happening with all of us. It has happened with all of us, right? Out of curiosity, or someone has just referred that, okay, chat GPT use kar lo. So he used chat GPT and he was very much frustrated with his wife, very frustrated. And he couldn't even discuss this in public because for the public, these guys were great. They were keeping a facade that, all right, we love each other, blah, blah, blah. But every night they used to fight. So on ChatGPT, somewhere he thought that, okay, I found my best friend. Why? Because he used to share everything up to ChatGPT. Like, okay, today we had a fight and my wife said this and that. And ChatGPT, being ChatGPT, started to console him. So, AI as a software, as a technology, you need to understand that companies make it so that it's user friendly. So if today, and you can just notice this, whatever idea that you are sharing with AI, whatever idea, whether it's professional, personal, AI would first congratulate you. All right. It would make you feel good that great, you have a wonderful idea, you're innovative, blah, blah, blah. It would never play the devil's advocate unless you tell AI to do so. It would never be critical about you. So in this case also, AI, obviously every day, it was like a diary, all right? Like we write everything in a diary, but it's just we don't get responses. This guy was every day saying, okay, my wife is this, my wife is that. In short, if I have to say in Hindi language, भड़ास निकालना. अपनी भड़ास AI के साथ निकालते थे वो, and AI used to obviously support him. Now, one fine day, what happened? This lady, she was there with her friends, all right, at a party, after office party. And okay, everything was great. Somewhere, one person said, they started to play this game that let's search our name on ChatGPT. So this husband and wife were using ChatGPT from the same account, the pro version, the paid version. So the wife just wrote her name, and out of nowhere, she got all the thesis, the bhadas thesis in short, because this guy was not even saying my wife is this, my wife is that. He was naming the wife every time. Mrs. dash 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 is this, she does that, ye karti hai, wo karti hai, whatever. So in short, character assassination with AI. And it was so humiliating for a lady because she had her colleagues, she had her friends. Obviously, everyone made fun of her. But guess what? The lady went to the court saying that I want a divorce, and I would say this is defamation for me because of this I've suffered reputational damage, and obviously there are consequences in the company. So I'm fed up with this guy. But again, when the court, when this case came up to the court was a little confused. That is this even an evidence or a claim or not? That was situation number one. Situation number two, again, very simple, and I would say simple because the case is simple and it's quite common happening these days. But the changes of AI. So girlfriend, boyfriend, typical, all right? It doesn't matter whether the girlfriend is breaking up or the boyfriend is breaking up. Someone who's taken a grudge will make a deep fake of the other person, and that deep fake can either be sensual in nature, or it might not be, might not be an adult video, but at the same time, that deep fake is being made to defame someone. Like, for example, a typical girlfriend-boyfriend situation, the boyfriend said that let's break up. The girl took it to her ego. She made a deep fake of this guy, but that deep fake was not an 18 plus video. The deepfake was simple. The guy was just sitting like this and he was speaking. But if you turn on the volume, so the guy is abusing everyone. He's abusing his teachers, friends, colleagues. And obviously that video was DM'd to other people. People believe that video because at the end of the day, I think those of you, Priyansh, can you please mute? Yeah. So at the end of the day, AI has become so advanced. And if you are a bit active on Instagram, you'll be able to see these memes where celebrities are dancing, singing, Kishore Kumar, Mohammad Rafi ki gaane ga rahe hain, politicians are dancing. So voice cloning and deepfake have become so precise that it's getting extremely difficult to see what is true and what is not. All right. So in this case also, a deepfake was made, it was circulated, the guy suffered trauma. But in these two cases, what is the legal remedy? Because if we talk about the cyberspace, the IT Act doesn't mention the word deepfake. It doesn't mention the word voice cloning. It doesn't mention the slightest of things where it says that, okay, AI is recognized. Because the last major amendment in IT Act, I'm not talking about the rules. I'm talking about the major amendment which happened in 2008. After that, yes, rules have come in, rules for intermediaries and blah, 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 but nothing on AI. So as law students, I can understand you guys have not, you have you're not past your legal degree yet, so you're not acquainted much. But as citizens, what do you think is the legal remedy in these situations? If you can write it in the chat box. Anything. There are no right or wrong answers because I've asked the same questions to pass outs as well, and they are also a bit confused. So it's not your fault that you don't know the answers. But still, a random guess. And if you don't know the answer, you can also write pass in the chat box. That's also fine. If message transmitted, then defamation. But okay, that's a valid point. But my question is, who has transmitted to who? See, at the end of the day, you have to realize one thing. As lawyers, if the law doesn't recognize something, it always gets difficult for a lawyer. It any day gets difficult. And on the contrary, if something is very much specific, you can easily prove that. It helps you, right? In your case, obviously. Husband transmitted to ChatGPT about his wife. Well, husband did. But at the same time, where does the law recognize AI? See, I'll tell you one simple thing. That first example, okay, evidently we are seeing that ethically it's wrong. All right, the husband transmitted information. Ethically, everything is wrong. On the face of it, we can all see that things are going wrong. Obviously, the husband is accountable. But the law doesn't recognize the words. That's what I'm trying to say. Even the judge sitting there, he knows कि गलत है. But if you practice in court, you'll realize. See, I'll give you a small example. 2611 attacks happened, right? But still, Ajmal Kasab got a lawyer, and that also took time. Everyone knew that this guy has done blunderous things. Yet, obviously, it's our system that everyone should get a chance and this and that. But still, the lawyer had to prove that this person, he did all these attacks and whatever. So what I'm trying to say here is that law has a fundamental, I would say, handicap at the moment. The Indian law, it has not recognized AI. So many cases are getting a subjective interpretation. If you guys are active in this space, and you must be seeing there are different orders and different things that have been passed by different courts, but these are subjective. जो जज को समझ आ रहा है, जज उसके हिसाब से आंसर देगा. And let me tell you, couple of cases have been so tricky. Like in the second case, right, the deepfake cases. The deepfake is not recognized. All right, and the biggest thing, even if deepfake is not recognized, as lawyers, we can use identity theft. All right, defamation, etc., etc. But who's liable? Number one. Number two, is there a proof that who's liable? That girl confessed. That's a different ballgame altogether. But if a person doesn't confess, आप कहां से पता लगाएंगे कि वो deepfake कहां से बना है? And more importantly, आप वो पता लगा भी सकते हैं, लेकिन जो कंपनी जिसके प्लेटफॉर्म पे, लेट्स से एक्स कंपनी के प्लेटफॉर्म पे डीपफेक बना है, अगर वो कंपनी आपको सपोर्ट नहीं कर रही, हेल्प नहीं कर रही, तब आप क्या करेंगे? In English, if today this deepfake case has happened, there are two questions. Number one, how will you prove that Mr. X or Miss Y made this deepfake? And number two, even if you have tools how to prove it, there are no guarantees whether the company on whose platform the deepfake has been made will support you. And you know why? It will not support you. Because tomorrow, if the company starts supporting you, every law or any court in the world would say these companies that please stop these services. Because see, the fundamental issue is that creating a deepfake and creating voice cloning is not difficult. It's very easy. And that too for free. Right now, if you'll go on Google and if you write deepfake AI model, voice cloning AI model, you'll get a list of things, right? That either it's free or paid. And paid is what, I think 1,800 or 2,000 per month. But creating a realistic deepfake, creating a morphed picture which looks realistic, ruining someone's life for 2,000 rupees is nothing. So that is situation number one. Through electronic evidence. Well, Priyansh, electronic evidence as a concept looks great. It sounds promising, but trust me, it's the most gray area in the IT law when you talk about the Indian ecosystem. You know why? Because if you'll go and study, forget about AI. If you'll go and study electronic evidence, The biggest problem that comes in, why? Okay, I'll just reframe this. There is a law, right? IT Act is there, electronic evidence is mentioned. Then the question is, why is it so difficult for every lawyer to prove the authenticity of an electronic evidence? Why is it a problem? When the law is straight, it's simple, clear. Then why is it a problem? The problem is that the law simply says that electronic evidence should not be hampered. Okay, that's the fundamental rule. But practically, if exactly it can be easily forged, number one. Number two, let's say I've got a phone. I'm a police officer. I've got a phone from the site or phone from the victim. Even if I'm opening the phone and I'm checking things, by law, that is also under what we call as hampering electronic evidence. And that many people don't know because obviously they are not legal professionals. They are not acquainted with these things. In general parlance, just opening a phone and just going through the phone is not hampering the evidence. But in law, in electronic evidence, it gets extremely difficult. And trust me, as lawyers, almost every time, whenever we get this situation, we know that some hampering has been done, whether intentionally or unintentionally. On top of that, when cases like deepfake and voice cloning come in, then electronic evidence goes for 6. Because today, even if I'll give you a practical example. Let's say Mr. X, okay, Mr. X came to me, Mr. X is the victim, and his voice, thanks to voice cloning, has been used at other places to defame him. Let's say Mr. X voice cloning sample was there and it has been circulated on WhatsApp, where Mr. X is abusing everyone. Now, Mr. X comes to me, he says that, sir, it is not my voice. This voice has been forged. Please help me. As a lawyer, what can I do? How can I prove that this is not his voice? That's the fundamental problem. Because thanks to AI, it has become so difficult to prove what is true and what is not. Number two, one has to see on which platform this voice cloning has been done, which is another challenge. I don't know, because the court would simply say that please get in touch with the platform. The platform is accountable. But which is the platform? The voice cloning doesn't mention, right, that have been made from Google Gemini or ChatGPT or whatever. That becomes another issue. Okay, someone is writing. Can we ban deepfake websites? Well, I'll tell you an interesting thing, Priyansh, right? Yeah. When AI came in early 2023, there was all these tech experts in the world, including Elon Musk, Geoffrey Hinton, who's known as the godfather of AI. All these guys said that let's unite, all right, and let's stop these AI activities for the next 6 months. Why? Because AI is like that car which is running at 200 kilometers per hour without brakes. So if we don't have any specific guardrails, ethical frameworks, then today or tomorrow somewhere we would be suffering. But guess what? Did people agree? They did not. Because business is business. The simple answer to this is you can't ban deepfake websites. And even if evidently you do, there are many mechanisms. Another example, how many of you know about this gaming guidelines which were passed 2 to 3 months back? Online gaming, right? That real money, in short, real money. If there is real money in online gaming, such as betting and everything, then obviously that is banned. That was banned, great. But if today you'll go on Telegram, you'll go on these sites, there are different ways through which people are doing, right? So banning it sounds, obviously it sounds easy, but it has a lot of practical situations to it. That is one. Second, we were talking about electronic evidence. Forget about India for a second. At least you guys know that a couple of countries have laws in AI. You must have heard or read about it. European Union, China and all. The interesting part is that scams or AI crimes, you can say deepfake or voice cloning scams, are also happening in those countries. But the question is, scams are happening. What does the law say? I'll rephrase that question. Today we are talking that, okay, India doesn't have a law, AI law, and there is a problem. All right, great. But I am asking the countries who have a law, we talk about European Union, we talk about China, they are getting, obviously crimes are happening, but after one point, they are not able to, I would say, solve these kind of crimes or bring justice to the victims. Why? Any random guesses? You can write it in the chat box. Even after having a law, why a country, what is lacking or what is the biggest obstacle for that country to deliver justice to the victims who have fallen for a cybercrime attack? Any random guesses in the chat box, please? Because of no proper implementation, no one knows how to use it from. That's true, Tanmay. That's I think one point is there that we lack AI literacy, but there is another point. Jurisdiction, not really. Well, okay, I'll give you an answer. And listen to this very carefully because this will give you a different plethora of things altogether. All the laws in the world on AI, right? No one, I repeat, no one has been successful in order to define AI in their law. Today, if you read any law, there's a definition clause, right? And in definition clause, everything is clearly, explicitly mentioned that, okay, X means this, Y means this. But if today you're making a law on AI and you yourself are not able to define what is AI, then there is a huge question mark. And again, it's not their fault. It's not that they are lazy and they have not defined AI. It's because AI as a subject is something out of the box for humanity. No one in the world, including Geoffrey Hinton, who's the godfather of AI, is able to comprehensively define AI. That's one. Second, when I talk about in the legal context, let me ask you guys. In law, you must have heard that, okay, there are different categories, right? Natural person is there, corporate is there. There are different categories. Where would you put AI in this? In which category would you put AI in our Indian law? No, it's not an artificial person. Why? Just because it is artificial intelligence? It's not a person. It's not even an artificial person. If you go hardcore by the definition of artificial person, it is not. Okay, what is an artificial entity? And does our Indian law specifically tell that, or is it a subjective term? I'm not talking about an English term. What is AI? I'm talking about law only recognizes 4 to 6 categories of things. And AI doesn't fall properly in any one of them. Therefore, if I talk about in the Indian context, yes, we are coming up with our Digital India Act. And the government says, yes, we will be defining AI in that. Great. But our current laws will be having a handicap on that. Look at BNS. Look at all these laws which have come in. The New Evidence Act which has come in. These don't talk about AI, but they will face situations and cases where AI is being used. Therefore, inserting the term artificial intelligence as a different category in the current laws also becomes important. Because these laws will be handicapped if AI is not introduced. How many of you agree with that? How many of you agree with this fact that the current laws should be having AI? As okay, someone, Jay Kishan. Yeah, please, Jay Kishan. You can unmute yourself. Okay, I think it was by mistake.
So there should be specific laws, but just as you said that there is no proper definition, it is so vague. So it can't be defined right now. There
It
need to
can't be
be
defined, that's for sure. That's what I said. The different countries, they have not been successful. But right now, what can we do? Like in the Indian context, Indian context, at least certain guardrails or at least certain guidelines to define AI. Because I'll tell you a simple example. A criminal always, gets away from the law when there is a huge loophole. And here AI is a huge loophole. If today I don't have the term deepfake in the law, then obviously it becomes very difficult for a lawyer to prove that deepfake in the court. You have to take indirect means such as identity theft, defamation. Are you getting it? And if these terms are explicitly mentioned, then it becomes easy for a lawyer. And again, I'm repeating this point again. It's not about bringing a new AI law. It is very important, but it is also important to amend our current laws so that they are able to adapt with AI. Because let's face it, if today there is a trademark issue, obviously IPR law will come in place. But if today I am using Google Gemini Pro and I make a painting, then what about the IPR? Okay, I'll give you a live example. Let's say Drishti has a painting, all right? She has a painting and Ekankshi takes that painting, she makes it on Google Gemini with some changes. Tomorrow, Drishti goes to the court and she says that this is my painting. This belongs to me. How can she, steal this and this and that? Well, that becomes a question mark. How much rights does Ekankshi have? Number one. Number two, even if she doesn't have the rights, where does the law mention? Because the law doesn't mention about AI. If today Ekankshi is not copy pasted, but has, let's say, 70% taken that painting and 13% has been made by AI, then what about the IPR? What about the trademark? Look at how many copyright issues have been happening with respect to AI. When ChatGPT came in, suddenly lawyers have, in population, they have started to increase. Why? Because today you go on ChatGPT and you can easily write a book. But where is that content coming from? Where is the content coming from? And even if we know where is it coming from, what is the accountability of these AI companies? The law doesn't explicitly mention the accountability, right? If today a deepfake has been made, okay, ideally the accountability should be of the platform who is promoting these deepfakes. Obviously, if you're giving this service, then you should have specific regulatory guardrails for that, at least ethical principles. But we don't mention it. I'll give you a simple example. A businessman, all right, and this is not about India. This similar case has happened around the globe. But I'll just give you the glimpse of it. A businessman was sitting on a Sunday, right? And somewhere, he thought that I'll just search my name on ChatGPT. The person searched his name on ChatGPT, and because he's a known businessman, obviously his biography came in. He was reading his own biography, and in between, there was this sentence where it says that, okay, this guy has two sons. In reality, also, he has two sons. One was out of Delhi and one was sitting by his side. After one point, there is this line which says that, okay, this businessman is accomplished, but unfortunately, he was imprisoned for 7 years for murdering his younger son. And his younger son was just sitting right there watching TV. Now, this might be funny, but for him, it was a case of defamation. He sued and went to the court. But again, AI hallucination as a concept is not there. And there are no accountabilities for these companies. Yes, I'm glad there have been cases where, within India and outside India, where judges have explicitly said that, sorry, even if the law doesn't mention these, there is a clear accountability of these companies. But just ask yourself this one question. Since 3 years, companies like, let's say, OpenAI, they have been sued n number of times. Sometimes copyright, sometimes because of hallucination, defamation, whatever. But not even one conviction. Not even one. Why? Thanks to the terms and conditions of these AI companies. I would actually urge and request you guys to just read the terms and conditions of anyone. It can be Google Gemini, it can be OpenAI, ChatGPT. And if you search and read those terms and conditions, you realize those terms and conditions are so flexible that they can easily get away with almost anything, unless the law mentions it. So these companies have done their homework. They knew AI hallucination will happen. They knew copyright issues will happen, but their terms and conditions are strong. And let's face it, in law, we recognize text more than verbal things. A term and condition is very well explicitly, it mentions everything and it is there in the public domain. So I would say, the backing or the claim that these companies generally have is that we have everything mentioned in our terms and conditions. The person has not read it. It's your problem. Another interesting case, which has recently happened 2 months back in US, a teenager, all right, his phone was taken because his screen time was too much and he was quite low and all. So he went to ChatGPT and he just wrote that, my life sucks, what to do with this and that. Now, ChatGPT being ChatGPT gives you 4 to 5 options, always. In one of the options, it said, kill yourself. Now, for a week, this person, this child, in fact, this boy, he was talking to GPT that why should I kill myself? And guess what? Within a week, AI successfully brainwashed him to commit a suicide, and he did commit a suicide. After committing suicide, now his parents are there in the US court. But the biggest question is who is accountable? And if I talk about in the Indian context, let's face it, in India, children who are 3 to 4 years old, they have phones in their hands. Not their phones, but obviously their parents' phones. Even if, let's say, a child is of 10 years old, 10 to 12 years old, I see children of, I think, 12 to 13 years old using ChatGPT. But the question is, are they mature enough to understand things? I don't think so. And if something or the other happens here, it's not about financial loss. Someone lost his life. But again, the law is silent. Okay. Sir, whom can we make accountable in these cases? Well, that is the question which everyone is asking around the globe, Tanmay. Who is accountable? If you ask me personally, there is a concept known as cyber insurance. All right. In simple terms, whenever, let's say I'm company X, I'll talk about in the AI context. I'm company X, I have a Gen AI model. And from that, some case has happened. Someone has suffered. So under cyber insurance, there are certain terms and conditions, obviously. But if the victim is able to prove, then obviously as a company, I have to give some insurance to that person. Let's say case, OpenAI's case, obviously you can't equate money with someone's life, but at least the accountability should be clear. So I personally believe the concept of cyber insurance coming in the law, actively playing a huge role is very important. That is one. Second is, yes, we cannot properly define AI, but at least we should start defining AI time and again. But if the law is silent, then it is a huge problem because it doesn't recognize AI. That becomes another issue. Sir, UNO or ICG will initiate any steps to reduce the danger of AI, like reducing environmental pollution at least. Yes, Anthony, that is a very good question. And if you just go through a couple of headlines that were there, they are in talks and they are getting some guidelines. Because for all those who don't know this, AI is a huge environmental threat as well. Because data centers are creating a havoc. You'll just go on YouTube and you'll write data center environmental pollution. You'll get different videos, live videos, where as a layman also you'll be able to see what kind of pollution it is creating, number one. Number two, forget about pollution. There is a huge energy consumption that these data centers have. And if you look at some stats and studies, the earth is not so proficient to support AI for the next 100, 200 years, or even 50 years, forget about 100 years. So there are also talks as to what kind of, jugaad, I would say, or what kind of things they can come up so that it is able to sustain AI. I'm sure they will be able to come up with something, but yes, highlighting the environmental angle is very important. Sir, what about if an app site mandates to agree the terms and conditions, and unless we agree to it, we can't also use it, then who is accountable and what can we do? Thank you so much, Harshita, for the question. And for this, I have a simple answer. I'm sure you guys know about the DPDP Act, or at least you must have heard about Digital Personal Data Protection Act. I'll not go in the nitty-gritties, but I'll just simply explain it to you. So in the DPDP Act, there is this format where it says that every company has to give in a notice format, let's say whether that's on WhatsApp, on mail, or a normal message. They will be going to their customers and explicitly saying, taking consent properly. It's not an implied consent concept. They explicitly say that, okay, Mr. X, we need your data for this much duration, for this purpose. Everything is clear. After that, it is upon you whether you want to give your consent or not. That's number one. Number two, if let's say you give your consent and after 2 months you say, I don't want to avail your services, you can any day withdraw your consent. That is the best part about this law. That as citizens, it is giving you the right and power to respect your own data. So that tomorrow you are not afraid that companies will be misusing your data or not. And for those who think that the companies might misuse your data, trust me, they won't, because the penalties are up to 250 crore rupees. up to 250 crore rupees. So I don't think a company would play a gamble of 250 crore rupees just to create some mishappening. Yes, there are there, but yeah. See, okay, I can take names, right? We all can take names. Apps like Facebook, WhatsApp. If you don't agree with their terms, they will not be, they will not let you use those apps. And that is a problem, right? If they will not let you use those apps, then what should we do? See, that's a practical situation, that's for sure. It is a practical problem. And you can't run away from these apps because, fortunately or unfortunately, our lives do revolve around these apps. Your notes are getting exchanged on WhatsApp, your personal talks are there on WhatsApp. So, to combat these kind of situations only, acts like DPTP Act are there, which at least would make these companies a bit accountable about your data and to promote transparency as well. Though, however, I personally believe that there will be loopholes. Well, these cases will come up, but at least it's a good start altogether. Anyone has any other questions? See, this topic is so deep and huge. I've just given you a couple of overview points. I remember, I think, a month back, I was taking this training session on e-evidence with a company, and it was a 5-hour session. 5-hour session, 2.5, then break, and then 2.5. And that, in 5 hours also, we were not able to complete this topic. So this topic is quite huge. It's grey. It's grey. That's why it's huge. Otherwise, it would have been very much simple. So, like Australia has banned social media for children under 16. So India, then how ChatGPT interface can help in reducing cyber fraud cases apart from initiatives like scam. See, Ayushi, again, see, as law students, I would just give you this advice. Whenever you're reading, let's say, a news clip about any law, let's say this one, that, okay, social media has been banned in Australia. Don't just read the headlines. Try to read the article as well. See, they took this initiative, great, but what is happening? Children are finding different ways to access social media because it's like a drug now. If you completely away, people will be able to find easy methods altogether. And guess what? It's not just children. Cyber criminals who want to target children are giving them the bait of joining XYZ social media. Let's say, I'll give you a practical example, okay? If there is a child in Australia, all right, social media is banned, everything is good. If I'm a criminal, from somewhere, whether it's Discord, whether it's Telegram, somewhere altogether, or whether it's email as well, email, simple as email. On email, if I'll send you a link that, okay, this is this social media group, it's a private group, please join in. And there is a link. If you just click the link has a malware. You're gone. Your phone access is gone. Why? Because, see, taking an extra, I personally believe that, I might be wrong, but this is my personal view. When we talk about law, taking a sudden extreme step has some disastrous effects. Especially when you talk about a sensitive category like children. Children are quite sensitive. They are easy to target and easy to brainwash as well. So banning straight away is not going to typically help, but I would say educating step by step, that's a better process because Australia is suffering from this problem. They've started getting cases and they are now, obviously, since they've taken this decision, they are now trying their level best to curb these kind of problems. So recently there was news about personalities having their personality right protected. Will it be helpful in preventing them from deepfakes? Well, Harshita, yes. Who's this? Jay. Well, Jay, yes, this concept is quite new. It will definitely help. But again, coming back to the fundamentals, unless there are specific guidelines, unless there is a specific law, unless there are specific rules which explicitly mention about these rights, that's where only the remedy would be coming in. Otherwise, all these concepts, let's face it, are theoretical till the time they are not recognized by law. Sir, is the cloud data which we share is uploaded on cloud? Okay, so Harshita asked a simple question, and I'll give you a simple answer. Nothing gets deleted on the internet. Nothing. And when I'm saying nothing, it includes AI, it includes social media, it includes cloud, everything. It never gets deleted. Yeah, for your own satisfaction, you might get a message that yes, this message has been deleted. but it doesn't get deleted evidently. It is somewhere. All right. And when you talk about data which is going outside or not, let me talk about the law. Since we're talking about data, I'll tell you what DPTP Act says. DPTP Act right now simply says that there will be specific countries and locations where the government would be banning the transmission of data. Right now, they have not given any list or any names, but eventually they will, which will be a threat to the national security, defense, and everything. So right now, this is a gray area. The law has not mentioned explicitly about what are the places where data transmission would not be legal. So I have a question. Some companies give the terms and conditions in very small font size, which cannot be read with our naked eyes. And yes, thank you for that question. And that is the biggest problem. It's not about the font size, it's about the volume as well. If you look at the terms and conditions, it's a huge pager. It's not a one pager or two pager. There are at least 50, 60 pages out there. And these are made because they don't want it to be user friendly. If it will be user friendly, obviously we will read, we will object to certain things. But that's where I think DPTP Act will play a crucial role. DPTP Act simply says you don't have to make a huge terms and conditions. That consent form, that consent notice has to be very clear, very simple. In bullet points, please don't confuse the respective citizen. If you're confusing and then you're taking data, tomorrow you will be liable. So I personally believe that's a very effective remedy, at least for this situation, where terms and conditions are huge and they are not able to read. If terms and conditions would be simple, if the notice would be simple, at least as a consumer, as a customer, you would have clarity that where is my data going, what is happening to my data. Sir, is there any way that if my mail ID or my device is completely hacked by malware? Well, pretty much there is no one way on this, right? It depends on a lot of things. And the biggest, I would say the biggest problems that come in where your email ID and all is hacked is the timeline. What do you mean by timeline? See, in cyberspace, you have to remember one thing. Time is of ultimate essence. Even minutes, forget about days. But the harsh reality is that people, when let's say a scam has happened, number one, they don't get to know on the spot, which is not their fault. Number two, when they get to know, they take time or else they don't know what to do. Like in this case, Google has specifically, if you go on the Google website, they have mechanisms to retrieve your respective mail. But again, the catch is, when are you reporting to Google? When are you reaching out to them? When are you writing the mail or a cybercrime complaint? If you'll do this after a month or so, obviously it will get difficult for any company. So can you kindly cite the section relevant to the act regarding small? Tanmay, there is no word such as small font point. I never said that the act mentions that there will be no small font point. I said the act specifically mentions that the notice should be clear. And trust me, I would not give you the relevant sections because it's a 21-pager document. 21-pager act, so I would say you should read the whole act altogether. I think it's the most simplest thing that we can do right now. A 21 to 25-pager act is very simple. Go read it. It's simple. It's not difficult, but at the same time, you'll be able to realize the loopholes, the gray areas, and at the same time, the opportunities that we have. Guys, any other questions before we close our session? And yes, I would say one advice, because I also face the same problem, and people who are, I don't have an experience of 20 years, all right? But people who have experience of 20, 25 years, they also face the same problem. So I think I should mention this here, specifically, you guys are quite young, which is that when we talk about cyber laws, when we talk about AI laws, there will never be a time in your legal practice where everything would be clear. There will be areas where you will find gray spots, where you will be confused, where the law is not mentioning things. So just accept it as part and parcel of the game. If specifically someone is, if someone is want to practice in this area, or someone is looking at this area, trust me, 24/7, you will be clueless. Trust me on that, because somewhere or the other, something is new, something is gray. But yes, once you embrace it, I think you're good to go.
Thank you so much, sir, for the enlightening session. This session has set a strong foundation for the upcoming sessions. Thank you, sir, for addressing every question with such clarity. This session has already shaped how our trainers understand digital risk. With that, Day 5 comes to a close. On behalf of Naksh Foundation and Project CyberShield, we extend our sincere gratitude to Mr. Sakshar Duggal sir for delivering an insightful and engaging session. His clarity and real world examples have given all of us a strong beginning to this journey. We would request you to fill the post assessment form as QR code on the present screen. Tomorrow, we will have the sixth session on cyber law intelligence, advances in financial frauds, UPI, QR code, and instant payments. You will receive the reminder and link well in time. Until then, stay aware, stay curious, and keep strengthening the shield. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.